Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishtaye Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaura Vahani Pachaline Nivasesha Shunyavadi Pashtatara Satanine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Okay, so can anyone give us a little summary of where we left off last week? Here comes some more devotees to help answer that question. What particular pastime were we reading about? To give you a clue, it's quite a heart-wrenching,
Oh yes, so we were reading about the
very
gopis. The gopis.
Oh, looks like devotees are speaking, but I can't hear you. That's
you can't hear me?
Okay, 1 second. Excuse me, Hare Krishna. Okay.
Can anyone else hear me?
Well, I can hear you, Mataji.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I can't hear you. Excuse me.
I'll just write in the chat that we can hear each other.
Okay, can someone speak now? See if I can hear you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
No, I can't hear you. So speaker. What about now? That sounds promising. Can someone say Hare Krishna? Great.
Hare Krishna.
They're connected up.
Right.
Hare Krishna. You can hear me, yeah? Okay, ready to go. Okay, so
yes.
Where did we leave off last week?
Yeah, I remember my reading because it was so heart-wrenching. It was like so, like it was like the biggest cliffhanger ever. Like talking about the gopis chasing up, trying to keep Krishna in Vrindavan.
Yeah, that's it. Akrura has taken Krishna away from Vrindavan. And we heard much to the intense distress of all the residents of Brhat. And and now we're picking it up where, do you remember Nanda Maharaj had gave a earnest promise that he would bring back Kanaya, he would bring back Krishna. So now we're going to pick it up where he's coming back from Mathura, but there isn't no Krishna. So this is where we left off last week, okay? And so let me just share that. Those are coming in. So Hare Krishna. We have Bhagavatamrta. Share. So there we are. So today we're beginning text 343. Let's just read back on 341 here. Yeah. So I can just read up to 343, and if anybody would like to pick up the reading there. So this is 341. Obeying Krishna's desire, Nanda and the I think I actually vote is just to mute if you're not reading. That's better, thank you. Obeying Krishna's desire, Nanda and the other cowherd men went back to Raj. And when the Vrajvasis heard that he had arrived, they all came out to greet him full of joy. Commentary. Only because Krishna asked the cowherds to return did they take the unimaginable step of going home without him. Krishna's desire was the only force that could move them to do such a thing. Even the carts went down the road by their own force without being driven. By Krishna's desire, the devotees that had stayed in Raj also lived only according to Krishna's desire. Naturally, then, they assumed that Krishna was with Nanda, and they greeted Nanda joyfully. Okay, so this is Nanda's coming back, as I mentioned before. Yeah. So 342. Nanda, however, overcome with sorrow and shame, covered his face with his cloth, and went home. So he covered, I can't imitate, he covered his face with the cloth. He doesn't even want to look at anyone. He cannot bear to see the faces. And Nanda, however, overcome with sorrow and shame, covered his face with his cloth and went home. What did he do? There he laid on the ground and cried, supremely miserable. Oh yeah, I remember he was commenting on this, supremely miserable here. Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, no one can be fully miserable or fully happy in this world. So full misery is only experienced in relationship to Krishna. So commentary. Bereft of Krishna, Nanda had good reason to feel sorrowful, and having broken his promise not to return without Krishna, good reason to feel ashamed. And yeah, good reason to feel ashamed. Okay, someone would like to take it up from 343?
Shall I do it?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you, Mother Vajkisha.
The Brajvasis, not seeing their Lord, were beside themselves in distress, confused about what to do, and sick with forebodings and
Forebodings, yeah.
apprehensions. Their faces withered. They heard no news from the elder cowherds about their Lord, and they couldn't bring themselves to ask. Commentary. Since no one told the Brajvasis that Kamsa was dead, they were still afraid of what he might do to Krishna. Nanda was silent about what had happened to Krishna in Mathura, and they feared what they might be told if they were to ask.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there's been no discussion. So Nanda didn't come back and explain what happened, and he didn't explain the conversation that he had with Krishna and Balaram, and how they were staying there to kill the various enemies of the Yadus and the Vrishnis. So there's been no conversation. So here, so they got no idea what's actually happened. Even it could be. Anyway, let's read on. We shall hear it. Okay, go on. Carry on, Mother.
Krishna's mother cried, "Alas, alas, alas, alas." And the other women cried out too, all in great pain. How can one speak about the state they were in? Oh, alas, oh, alas.
Alas.
Sri Parikshit said, "Dear mother, that best of the young cowherds, Sarupa, then again grew utterly confused. As he contemplated what had happened to Braj, his heart burned in fire of sorrow. The most excellent Brahmana carefully brought Sarupa somewhat back to the normal, and Sarupa, fearful of becoming confused again, spoke no further details on the topic. Commentary. Mathura Brahmana, just to bring his guru back to external consciousness, called out to him, touched his feet, and sprinkled him with water. But when the kind-hearted Sarupa saw that the Mathura Brahmana was eager to hear the rest of the story, he controlled his mind and continued to speak. Commentary. Because Sarupa's disciple, the Brahmana, had a strong desire to hear Sarupa, even at the cost of his own well-being, felt the compassionate duty to help him spiritually advance.
Okay, so this is just taking us back to Maharaj Parikshit. Who is he explaining this to? Oh, it's there. It's his dear mother. This whole recital is given by Parikshit just after Sukadev Goswami spoke to Srimad Bhagavatam. Then his mother, in great distress, but in distress, she was not in distress exactly because her son was soon to be as cursed to be killed, but because she wanted to hear about the essence of devotional service. And Parikshit obviously didn't have long to live. So then Maharaj Parikshit told her, recited this Brhat Bhagavatamrta, which has then been recited also to Sarupa, who was who is Gopagama, and he's reciting his whole experience to a disciple. And his name's not given, just a Brahmana from Mathura. Okay, so that's why this has been brought out here for those who joined us a bit later in our readings. Okay. Okay, you can continue, but 348.
Text 348. Sri Sarupa said, when Krishna heard from a reliable person that a heavy sorrow of Brajvasis felt could never be removed by any other means, he fully explained this state of affairs to the people of Mathura, and controlled by the love of his dearest devotees, he soon went back to Braj. That's surprising. According to the advice of Uddhava and other dependable counselors, only Krishna's return would calm the Vrajvasis. Krishna and Balram therefore exchanged their royal garments for their old cowherd dress and went home.
Yeah, so this is not given in the Krishna book.
Yeah.
Sukadev Goswami didn't speak of this particular details, but it is there in the works of the Goswamis, where Krishna did actually come back. And as we will read, he comes and he goes, and he comes and he goes. So as we mentioned before, His Holiness Shivaram Swami has written about this in a book called Krishna Sangati, which explains all these pastimes where Krishna's coming and going from Vrindavan. So here it is. So Krishna did make the promise that he would come back, and he did come back. Krishna always sticks to his promises. Right? Any questions about that? That's clear, because this is not in Bhagavatam.
No, I'm surprised. I hear it for the first time.
You haven't heard that? Okay, yeah, he comes back. So this is so Maharaj Parikshit is reciting this extra little detail. Okay, go on.
Text 349. Impelled by compassion for the residents of Braj, Krishna, that the crest jewel of the artful heroes, quickly gave them back their lives. He enjoyed with them until they forgot their misery and what had caused it. Commentary. Krishna made sure that Brajvasis forgot every last thought that had caused them anguish, including Akrura's having come to the Braj and taken him away to Mathura. Krishna took this trouble for two reasons, because he is a Vidhag Madhurya Mani, the most gracious performer of valorous deeds, and because he is a Krupakul, driven by the compassion for his suffering devotees.
Yeah, so Kripa means mercy, isn't it? Kula.
Yes.
So it means your friends, or so Kripa Kula. Compassionate for your friends. Compassion for the suffering, specifically here. His friends who are suffering. Okay.
Text 350. And if any Vrajvasis ever remembered that suffering, they would bitterly lament and cry out in fear. What a horrible, unheard of thing I saw in my dream. Commentary. Even in their dreams, the Vrajvasis couldn't imagine Krishna leaving them to go elsewhere. Their panic at the mere thought of it was but another aspect of their ecstatic love for Krishna. Text 351. Yes. The fullness of Krishna's sweet cowherd pastimes so utterly attracted and enchanted the Vrajvasis' senses that after a time they forgot everything, even that there was a past or a future. The text.
Yeah, just sorry to keep interrupting the reading, but because I've read Krishna Sangati, so here when it explains that Yeah, even in their dreams, the Rashis couldn't imagine Krishna leaving them to go elsewhere. So they thought it was a dream. They thought it wasn't reality when Krishna actually came back. Now, Krishna comes back, but as we will read, then he leaves again. And they think that's a dream. So they're in this world of this dreamlike state where whether Krishna's with them or Krishna's away, there is no difference in one sense. It's a bit difficult to follow, but so that's why it said Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. That's another aspect of Krishna never leaving Vrindavan, because when he does leave, then the residents of Vrindavan, they're in and then he returns again. Then, as far as they're concerned, then Krishna had never left. So they're in this mystical world of divine bewilderment. Krishna's coming and going, you know.
Surely, if he left Mathura, then Mathura people will know that he's gone, because they were not in a Vipralamba bhav.
Yeah, and there's there is a verse where Krishna's queens in Dwarka, there's a verse in the Bhagavatam, which is a seed verse, which from there they prayed to Krishna about their feelings of separation. And for instance, when he goes to do his duties, when he wakes up in the morning, then they're cursing the sunrise because he has to leave their side. And then they curse his duties that he's doing as the prince king. And also they speak of feeling great separation when he goes back to Raj. So that's spoken by the queens of Dwarka, and that's a verse in the Bhagavatam. So that verse gives a hint that Krishna does actually go back. Yeah, but your point, in the Mathura, then there's a whole pastimes will unfold where Krishna leaves for some time, but then he goes back. He goes back and forward, being pulled by the tense feelings of love in separation. Anyway, it gets quite complicated to follow exactly. But is that okay, Bhavaraj Kishore? I'm just
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Text 352. O friend, on another occasion, that same Akrura came to Vraj on his chariot as if he had never come before.
Here you
Commentary. On the order of Kamsa, the same Akrur came again to bring Krishna to Mathura, because everyone, including Akrur, were bewildered by the influence of the Golok atmosphere. No one could remember that this was not the first time Akrur had arrived in Vrindavan.
Okay.
Text 353. He once again took away the life of Braj and its residents, went again into the same state. Text 354. Again Krishna went to Madhupuri, again killed Kamsa, and again returned to Vraj, where he continued as before to enjoy his pastimes. Text 355. Thus Krishna again and again goes to Kamsa's city, as he many times did before, and again returns to sport in Vraj. Text 356. Krishna subdues Kaliya time and again in the same way, and time and again lifts Govardhan hill, and again and yet again he performs his many other wonderful pastimes. Thus the Lord enchants the hearts of his devotees. Commentary. Since all of Krishna's pastimes, beginning with the killing of Putana, are eternal, Krishna enjoys them with his devotees in Golok as often as they like. Yet each time a pastime is repeated, it seems completely new, as if never seen or heard of before. this description may confuse us. How can
Yes.
Krishna replay pastimes he has already performed? And how can demons like Putna repeatedly be killed? But Krishna's pastimes are transcendental. They are unlimitedly attractive to all his devotees, whether eternal companions or new converts to pure devotional service. Even newly elevated devotees feel extraordinary love for the Supreme Person whenever they hear and remember his pastimes. Those pastimes generate such a force of loving attraction as to fix the memories of them in the hearts of the devotees. Meditation on those pastimes then gives rise to a very special happiness. In this way, Krishna's pastimes steal the hearts of even neophyte devotees, and Krishna's eternal devotees taste a sweetness and wonder unknown to anyone
else. Okay. Any comments or questions at this time? So Krishna.
I'll just switch on the light and come back 1 minute.
Yeah. So Krishna performs these dramas in a very wonderful way, coming and going. Coming and going. And here, even newly elevated devotees feel extraordinary love. Newly elevated devotees. All right. I'm not sure what that means. But as Mother Lavanga was saying, that she remembered very nicely, she was remembering the heartache of the situation of Krishna leaving Vraj. Yeah. So Krishna has a very wonderful way of churning the devotees' hearts, Yeah. So whenever we hear such pastimes, so it means we're supposed to hear about Krishna's pastimes. Yeah. Become enchanted by them and meditate upon them as much as we can. Okay, would anyone else like to read? Any other readers out there? We can continue with 357 and see how this is going to unfold. Otherwise, I can jump in. Okay, 357. Go ahead, just in time.
I was waiting to see if anyone else jumped in because I usually jump in first.
Go ahead, enthusiastic.
356. Is it text 356?
357.
7, sorry. Yeah, 7.
357.
But the residents of Vraj, completely bewildered by the Kalakuta poison of their supreme love for Shri Krishna, never think that any of these events has ever occurred before. Commentary. Because the Vrajvasis are never aware that Krishna's pastimes are repeat performances, the attraction they feel for those pastimes is never impeded. The highest states of Krishna Prem have the power to create such bewilderment. Text 358. Thus, the powerful force of their obsessive love ever increasingly grows, both in union and in separation. Text 359. As true as this is for the eternal residents of Vraj, even newcomers like me can hardly remember those past events. Commentary. In pure devotional life, everyone is fully absorbed in transcendence. Some devotees, however, can be distinguished as nutna, new, because they were conditioned souls and have recently been reinstated in their original position by devotional practice and the Supreme Lord's personal grace.
All right, so that's what Sanatana Goswami means by new devotees, that they've been new. So they've established, so they've reached a stage of perfection by the path of sadhana. Yeah. They've gone from through the stage of sadhana up to bhava, and they've been reinstated in their original position. So they're newcomers as compared to the Nityasiddha devotees. Yeah. Okay, go on.
Yeah. How can any resident of Vraj not forget in this way? The Vrajvasis, after all, are ever immersed in the ocean made by these river currents of most enchanting sweetness. And by gaining the vast, most desirable treasure of pure love, the Vrajvasis have become maddened. Text 361. And oh, the most glorious thing is that the foremost of enlightened persons, the Lord himself, while drowning in an ocean of love for his dear devotees, cannot always remember what he has done and what he is going to do. Commentary. Isn't perfect knowledge an automatic byproduct of love of God? Why then are pure devotees of Goloka so forgetful? Yes, to one who has prema omniscience comes naturally, but prema, being all-powerful, can redefine what is knowledge and what is ignorance. Hey, amazing.
Yeah.
The personality of Godhead himself, by the influence of his Yogamaya, also forgets what he did before, but though he often forgets, he sometimes remembers if it serves the purpose of his pastimes.
Yeah, because that way it makes everything ever fresh. Because if Krishna has killed Kamsa many times, that's okay, so he's going to kill him in his latest appearance on Brahma Vrindavan. So he's not thinking, oh, here I go again. Here's Kamsa. He's not going to enjoy it with the same. He won't be able to enjoy it with the same rasa. Exactly. So it seems like Yoga Maya, yeah. So covers him. It's called this potency is called Mukta Gyan. So Krishna has his internal potency. Sometimes he's all knowing, and he knows everything, but sometimes he doesn't know anything. He doesn't even know he's a supreme personality of Godhead. Anyone can say what pastime this is really illustrated in. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur speaks about this Christians being Mukta or Savagyan.
Is it the Kartik one, Damodar Leela?
Yeah, that's it. Damodar Leela. Yeah, that's brought up as an example where Krishna is actually fearful of Madhya Soda and he's crying. He's not just crying crocodile tears. He's been described that he's stupefied by the loving affection of his devotees. Then he forgets his God. Because of the strength of Madhya Soda's Vatsalya love for him, then he fully identifies, completely immersed in himself being her dependent son. Yeah. Otherwise, it would just be like an actor. I mean, an actor on the stage can, if they're good actors, really identify with the role that they're playing. But still, within the back of their mind, they know they are acting. So therefore, Krishna is a supreme enjoyer. So his Yogamaya potency helps him to relish these pastimes in the full sense of the term. But also what's coming out here, the same happens for his devotees. They forget. Yeah. But also it's to be said that, we hear Krishna's pastimes, for instance, of lifting Govardhan Hill, killing, the pastime of Krishna as Nrsingadev, killing Hiranyakashipu. And we hear it again and again and again. But still it's relishable, isn't it? It's relishable. Because it is coming, it is the pastimes of Krishna. And same when we chant the holy name. Hopefully, if we chant without the fence and we chant with attention, hopefully the experience will be ever fresh. So we can tell if we're getting bored with chanting, that should indicate that we're making offenses and we're not chanting with attention. We're just not paying attention to the holy name. That's why it's getting mechanical. Otherwise, it's fully fresh, just like Krishna's pastimes. But it seems like there's another level here where Krishna's perfected devotees, they're unaware that Krishna's killed Kamsa before or Akura's come. So it's a whole Anyway, trying to describe something inconceivable. But any comments or questions on that? Okay.
Slowly, if this happening in the Bhauma Leela, there will be different souls coming as a Akrura and different soul coming as a Kansa. Is it not possible?
Yeah, that opens up a whole, that opens up a whole other understanding. Yeah, so I think here is a summary, I think, of Krishna's Leela and pastimes is being presented. As far as I can make out, it's not a chronological presentation. And I think, as I mentioned before, the Leelas that are given here, there's some aspects which are obviously in Boma Vrindavan and some aspects are not. So Sanatana Goswami doesn't make it clear. What he is making clear is that there is no difference between the two from one perspective. It's all the same pastimes by the Lord's internal potency. That's just that it manifests within the material realm, that same atmosphere, that same pastimes happen. Hare Krishna. All right, are we even more confused now? Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's a good point, Mother Rajkishore. Yeah, that must mean there must be different jivas who play different. Who each time different jivas get killed by Krishna if they're in a position of Kamsa. Anyway, let's read on to try and understand more. All right, you can carry on, Mother. Is that right? We're on 362 now.
362. Okay.
Yeah.
And the pastimes of the Lord are, excuse me, are ever existing and purely spiritual, formed of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Of their own accord, these pastimes, attracted to the Lord's lotus feet, to engage in service, follow him everywhere, supplying the entourage and paraphernalia for each occasion. Commentary. Krishna's pastimes are Sat Chidanandamai, composed of Sat, eternal existence, Chit, full awareness, and Ananda, pure ecstasy. In this context, the suffix Mayi could mean either identity or transformation. In other words, since Krishna's Leelas are a display of Krishna's internal energy, they are non-different from him, and they are also a manifestation of transcendental variety. There are never any defects in Krishna's Leelas, even when Krishna seems to behave like an ordinary person.
Just read the translation.
The ladies of the neighborhood complain to Yashoda. When Krishna is caught in his naughty activities, the master of the house will say to him, "Oh, you are a thief," and artificially express anger at Krishna. Krishna will then reply, "I am not a thief, you are a thief." Sometimes, being angry, Krishna passes urine and stool in a neat, clean place in our houses. But now, our dear friend Yashoda, this expert thief, is sitting before you like a very good boy. Sometimes all the gopis would look at Krishna sitting there, his eyes fearful, so that his mother would not chastise him. And when they saw Krishna's beautiful face, instead of continuing to complain about him, they would simply look upon his face and enjoy transcendental bliss. Mother Yashoda would mildly smile at all this fun, and she would not want to chastise her blessed transcendental child. To Krishna's
that's from Bhagavatam. We could probably familiar with this. That's directly from Bhagavatam. Yeah, go on.
To Krishna's feet, his pastimes are attracted by their own desire to serve him, and they are attracted by the service attitude of his devotees. In the words of Sri Vishnu Purana, the pastimes of the Lord of the universe unfold by their sweet will as he imitates the activities of living beings embodied as humans. Text 3363. O Brahmana, thus I have told you about Goloka's unique, most extreme greatness and sweetness, which flow everywhere like a flooding river. Text 364. The Mathura Brahmana said, after strivings for so long, in so many ways, with so many desires in your heart, you achieved Krishna's abode. Now that he has gone to Madhupuri, where will you reside and how will you live? Commentary. For a very long time, Gopakumar had harbored the desire to see Sri Gopala Dev and join him in his pastimes. Now Gopakumar has finally reached his destination, Goloka Vrindavan, but Krishna has left Vrindavan to go to Mathura. Under the circumstances, how can Gopakumar tolerate living in Vraj? And since he is attached to the countryside where Krishna performed his childhood pastimes, how can he consider living in Mathura? Text 365. Sri Swarup said, by the order of the Lord, I and all devotees like me continue to live in Vraj in the company of Nanda and the others whose moods resemble ours. Commentary. When Krishna left Vraj, he gave special instructions to the new devotees who had come to his abode on the strength of his mercy and their spontaneous Raganuga sadhana. He told them to remain in Vraj and continue to associate with great devotees like Nanda, whose ways of devotion were similar to their own. Otherwise, if the new devotees were to go to Mathura, the incompatible local mood would disturb them, and their spiritual development would be impeded. With such considerations in mind, Sri Haribhakti Sudodaya states, if an intelligent person wants to see his family prosper, he should stay with his own kind.
Yeah, this was a question I was had is that or a consideration. So okay, so someone after many births in the material world, finally by the grace of the devotees, they take to the process of devotional service. And then only a very few of those, as a Bahanam Janam Ante say, a few of them will actually rise through the different stages. It may take many lifetimes to develop through the different stages of qualification through spontaneous practice. And then finally, they go to Vrindavan to associate with the residents of Raj and Krishna. And then after all of that, Krishna leaves Vrindavan and it goes to Mathura. So it must be a great feelings of, you can understand what I'm saying. They've, after many hundreds, perhaps thousands of births, they finally get Krishna's association. And then Krishna leaves the place. He leaves Vrindavan. Anyway, as we heard, but then he comes back. But anyway, from that perspective, you can imagine how much. I guess they're not complaining. It took me so long to get here. Now he's left. It's not fair. It's just Krishna's heightened intense loving affection for him. Anyway, any comments or questions on that? So like, get ready. If you manage any blessed souls here who managed to make it back to Vrindavan, somewhere where Krishna's performing his pastimes, then be prepared, because Krishna's going to leave. And sometimes he might not come back for 90 years or so, for a long time, as we learn from Bhagavatam. Anyway, Hare Krishna. All right. You can read another couple more verses, Mother, unless there's any comments from anyone on that.
Yeah.
Hope I haven't. Yeah, go on.
Okay.
366, yeah.
366. Sri Swarup said, I think I read this one, yeah. 366. Oh, sorry, yeah. This is the nature of Goloka, Krishna's world. Even in his absence, the residents want to stay. None want to go anywhere else. Text 367. There, sorrow dances vigorously on the head of every kind of happiness, and anguish gives a joy more intense than any bliss. Commentary. In Goloka, the apparent misery of separation from Krishna is in fact the greatest happiness, and the anxiety felt by the Golokavasis is more ecstatic than any other pleasure. As already explained, both these contrary effects are due to the unique nature of the special love for Krishna found only in Goloka. 368. After so long having attained my desires, there I reside beyond all desires, and to my heart's content I relish the supreme and endless perfection of life. Yet the nature of that reality is such that I shall never feel satiated. 369. Never then, for any reason, can I give up Krishna's all-attractive lotus feet, smeared with kunkam, and from the breasts of the women of Vraj. Never can I stop serving those feet with my senses, body, and mind, not even for a fraction of a second. 370. Krishna showed this most wretched person the favor of his mercy, mercy others can never hope for, enhanced with the taste of his divine sweetness. To no one should this be disclosed, yet I have recounted my story to you. Commentary. As Srila Sanatana Goswami reveals earlier in his commentary, Srimati Radharani personally ordered Sri Sarup to enlighten the Mathura Brahmana. Text 371. After staying some time in Goloka, I realized this splendid Mathura Mandala here in the mortal world is not different. Commentary. Knowledge of Goloka applies equally to Gokul and vice versa, because these two places are identical, just as a Jnani's realization of impersonal Brahman includes the realization of the individual spirit soul. Realization of either Goloka or Gokula includes realization of the other, where impersonal realization to disallow the Brahmavadis from perceiving their own selves, they would have no impetus to follow their own discipline, because knowledge of Brahman in the beginning of its development is too subtle to perceive. Impersonal Brahman cannot be known by the untrained mind, and so for the benefit of neophyte Jnanis, the Upanishads refer to Brahman merely as Tat, that, as in the famous aphorism of the Chandogya Upanishad, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. 372. Divine gopas, gopis, and cows abound in variety in Gokula, just as in Goloka, and so do the other animals and the birds and the insects, and the mountains, rivers, trees, and other beings. Commentary. Goloka and Gokula resemble one another down to the details of individual living beings. The individual persons playing roles in one place may be distinct from those in the other, but the functions they serve in the pleasure pastimes of the personality of Godhead are the same, exactly the same. Gokula's cowherd men and women and all its creatures, down to the creepers and bushes, closely resemble their counterparts in the spiritual world. Text 373. And this place is adorned with a never-ending stream of similar pastimes, expanded by the glorious Krishna Chandra. 374. I reside, therefore, sometimes here and sometimes there. No longer do I perceive any difference between these two abodes. Commentary. Sri Sarupa and his disciple are in Vrajabhumi on earth. Now Sri Sarupa sees no difference between the two abodes. But before he attained this realization, he had to make a great endeavor to transfer himself from Gokula to Goloka. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying this. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier. Just to highlight the non-difference. They're actually non-different.
But still, he had to make a great endeavor to go from Gokula to Goloka.
Yeah, so he could become advanced and actually learn the non-difference. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Perhaps read.
Question.
Please, yeah, Mother. Yeah.
What about our devotees going to live in Vrindavan? They're giving up their life in Vrindavan. Would they begin to find that there's no difference between Bahuma Vrindavan they are in and the Goloka Vrindavan?
For sure. If they're blessed, if they're very pure-hearted, and they're blessed by Krishna for sure. Yeah, there is no, yeah, the home of Vrindavan, or the facsimile of Vrindavan that we, for instance, that we have to buy a ticket to Delhi and then get a 2-hour, 3-hour taxi. It is actually non-different from, it is actually Goloka.
And
It is
also,
actually,
like our temple, the Soho temple, would be the same.
yeah, wherever there's Radha Krishna,
It's
wherever
hard
there's,
to,
yeah,
yeah.
The whole
but it
Vrindavan
takes,
is Krishna. It's that there's leelas everywhere. It's just
yeah,
we can't see any. When you go to Vrindavan, it's just like normal other town.
of course, yeah. That's why it's covered. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this when he's speaking about Navadvip. Is that there's a covering to bewilder, to deceive those who are not qualified. So it seems like an ordinary place to ordinary people. But for those who have the adhikar, those who have the qualification, then it's not. It's an extraordinary place. And that's going to be perceived on different levels. It's not like one, or it's not black or white. Like a serious sadhaka may go there and feel the spiritual potency there. And I'm sure we all do. Devotees who go to Vrindavan, there is no doubt that despite the ordinary aspect of it, the hogs, the noise, etc., the typical India thing, there is something extraordinary about being in Vrindavan. Yeah. But then there'll be devotees who are more qualified and more pure-hearted. The actual nature on the non-difference of the Dham, or the actual manifestation of the Dham, would be more manifest. So it's not like black or white. There's like, it goes from different levels according to your qualification. That's how you're going to perceive Vrindavan, as being actually Vrindavan, the spiritual world. But that'd be according to your qualification. Yeah, but it also, like Mother Lavanga Latika brought a good point about the temple, Radha Krishna deities. So the temple, in one sense, yes, it is. But that's why it takes a lot more qualification to perceive that, actually. Whereas that's why it's good to visit the holy dhams, because the perception of that may be a little bit easier to conceive, the transcendental nature of Vrindavan, when you're actually there in the atmosphere. Yeah. But for someone who's advanced, then the temple, because Radha Krishna is there, but therefore the Vrindavan is there, therefore the spiritual world is there. For sure. And Prabhupada was sometimes explained like that the temples are Vaikuntha. You follow? And even more, you could go even further than that. There's someone who's chanting the holy name. They're chanting the holy names of Radha and Krishna. So that means Radha and Krishna means the devotee is the name is not different from Radha Krishna. And wherever there is Radha Krishna, then it's Vrindavan. And whenever there is Vrindavan, then there's all the pastimes. Yeah. So that's the experience of a greatly fortunate devotee, elevated devotee, that when they chant the holy name, they are absorbed in Krishna's pastimes. Just like we read about Raghunath Das Goswami, as we know, Vilapa Kusmanjali. So his chanting is a manifestation of the spiritual realm, and there's pastimes going on within the heart of a devotee. So it's all quite wonderful. It's all quite amazing and wonderful. Yeah. Any questions or comments on that?
I can tell that in Christianity, all churches are called embassies of God. So I think other religions also know that, that, when you're with deities, then, you're actually not in material world.
Yeah, Christians have the same concept, especially Catholic churches, and imagine. Yeah. And I think hopefully, I guess we can, even when we go to churches, sometimes the devotees may go, you can sense a sense of godliness there. Yeah. So temples, churches, synagogues, mosques, could we say, they they do play an important role for giving the impression of the spiritual realm upon the practitioners. That's why it's good to go to temples. That's why there's a whole discussion, isn't it? Is it, you're going to watch the festival online, or are you going to actually go to the festival? And I'm sure we all know there's a big difference, isn't there? If we take part in the festival online and we actually go and physically associate with Vaishnavas and we make the sacrifice to actually go, then there is quite a profound difference. Yeah. Anyone attended online, right, Aston? I guess that temple's so small, it's so packed that sometimes it's just, it may be easier for some, especially if you've got family and children, to try and get them to the temple and etc. Sometimes it presents a lot of difficulties. Anyway, going on here a bit, but yeah, thank you for that point. The churches, also different religions, understand this is the spiritual, this is the place of God. Yeah.
Also, it depends on your consciousness, doesn't it? Whether you're going
Yeah, that's the point we're making.
more is on your consciousness, what you get out of it, what you're seeing. You could go there and say, "Oh, it's so noisy. I'm not going to go in the temple room. I'm not going to sit in the VIP."
Yeah.
And there's so much conscience on I will do. And whereas you could go and, all right, whatever it is. You sit back and just listen and hear and watch.
Yeah, I've had different experiences, of that. Sometimes, I can share, but sometimes I'm in the Bajari department. It's just like, man, this is too much. There's too many people in here. I can't think straight. But then sometimes I'm in a mist in the Bajari department and there's devotees walking everywhere and I'm in ecstasy. Not ecstasy as, Sattva Kebab, but I'm just so happy to be amongst so many Vaishnavas serving Krishna. And I don't care that there's, it's kind of, from the external point of view, it's just like complete chaos. But you're amidst the Vaishnavas serving, and it's like completely transcendental. But other times, if you're not in such good consciousness, if you're, then it may not be, you just can't wait to get out there quick enough.
Yeah, I just heard my Guru Maharaj giving a talk on
Yeah, go
Radhastami,
on.
and he was saying that, in Vaikuntha, it's very much like straightforward, but in Vrindavan, in Goloka Vrindavan, it's like it's chaos. It's chaos because things
Blissful
happen.
chaos.
Yeah. So the chaos is good.
Yeah, chaos is good. That's a really good point. Because in Vaikuntha, everything is, everyone's controlled. It's all Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Everyone's, showing regular, awe and reverence to Vishnu. But in Goloka, it's complete, as we've been hearing. It's filled with intrigue. There's politics. There's pure politics. There's pure lying of pastimes. And, when Radharani's trying to meet Krishna and then Chandravali comes, she sends her, the different pastimes that happen. Complete chaos. So in the same way, good point, in our temples, it's not much like Vaikuntha. It's like Goloka. You could look at it like that.
Like yesterday when you saw everywhere, like this person cooking that, you can just see, okay, it's chaotic, but how much love everybody's got.
Yeah.
So, and when you look at the altar, all these preps going there, how much effort everybody made to just
yeah. And if we're in the right consciousness, it could be a source of bliss for us. The amount of people. I guess most of us were speaking about the Bajaj department because a lot of us serving the Vajra department, then if we're in the right consciousness, then the amount of people can cause more bliss and all the services that's going on. Yeah.
It's banging and
That's why
all that, but it's really, yes. Like they say, we had a group, and then like this Anita's in one corner doing all different kachoris, and Apurva is doing parathas, and somebody's doing, it's just such a little kitchen, and yet folk are like working around it, and then what goes down, it looks like, for Krishna,
So perhaps that's why I mean, perhaps that's why Krishna's not opening up a pathway for us to be in a bigger temple, because Krishna's in more bliss by seeing all devotees serving in such restricted space. That is causing great happiness for Radha and Krishna. But at the same time, I think we have to be kind of honest. I think there is times when probably we can't be in that. It's difficult to be in that situation all day, every day.
Yeah.
I think we all got our own space, isn't it? That we all, yeah, it's great, fantastic, it's ecstatic, but then we have to balance it out a bit. So therefore
and
we have
there's
so
many visitors now that not everybody can go, find a place to be comfortable. They're kind of shuffling around.
So
it's a bit.
So this is it's a good one. We shouldn't be what's the word? Naive to the needs of our growing community. And we should all carry desire in our heart. That's whether Krishna wants it or not, there's something else. But like for the feast, we're going right off track a bit, but the feast, for example, it's such a shame where not everyone can sit in the temple room, and we have to give out takeaways, and everyone has to sit outside. So it has that aspect of, well, it's all bliss, but at the same time, we should always be thinking of how we can better serve the growing community in a more comfortable way. How that is going to manifest is not clear, Perhaps Krishna likes it like this. He likes to, he's got the big temples, and there's the small temples as well.
Also, it depends on, the growing community, how serious they are or how serious they're going to be.
Meaning?
Meaning, like, at the moment, we have lots of devotees are coming, but they just come, have prasad. They don't want to sit and listen to classes and things like that. And
a larger temple, you will need larger volunteer organization, and you need more volunteers.
Yeah, well, that's up to us. That point you mentioned, Chandra, that's up to us, is to we should, those who have been to temple for a few years, and when we're in the temple, we should be on the lookout and give some shelter to those who are just coming. There should be some who are coming that we're preaching to, not preaching at, but speaking to, and developing a relationship, and helping them in devotional service, and try to encourage them in a different ways, encourage them to come to the classes. Sorry?
It's okay, you finish and I'll tell you.
I finished. Yeah, go on.
I was going to ask you a question. Actually, I heard a brahmachari, I don't know who it was, going up.
It wasn't me.
And said that, Abhishek is only for grahastas, not from a drum. I was like so shocked that if you lot are not around to help these other communities that's coming in, then how are you going to preach to them? How are you going to cultivate them?
That's obviously that's
I'm just thinking to myself, I was thinking, when I heard it, I was like a bit in shock,
Yes, that's obviously a younger devotee. He's got some, after becoming, bathing the Lord is not just, bathing the Lord is for devotees.
Yes.
It's not just for, devotees who are married. It's for those who are devoted and want to bathe the Lord. Yeah, So that's going to be a vision of, it's an action, because I guess they look at the Abhishek and it, and I mean, I think I'm generally the only one in saffron there. If I take, so that's the obvious innocent conclusion. Oh, it's normally done by, but it's not. It is.
I never was before like that. Never was before like that. And then this is the chance you get to preach to the communities, sitting there, sitting and chat with them, or Anyway, that's what I mean.
Right.
If you're at the temple, you see all these things, but you should rise above and not let it bother you or anything like that. And
Anyway, we've had a bit of an Ishtagoshti and a spontaneous Ishtagoshti about the festival, about the temple and festivals. I'm sure it's not just our temple as well. I mean, I've been in other temples. It's the same chaotic bliss, in temples. Getting some more and some less, depends how many people taking part. Like I was in when I went to the Panihati festival that our East London devotees had.
Yeah.
And
must have been
how many they have? There's many. Oh my God! When I went down to I'm quite fortunate that they brought us out a plate of prashadam when we sat down in a relatively quiet place, me and Dhirodatta. But then he showed us around this temporary place they have. Then we went to the place where they're all taking prashadam. My God, complete blissful chaos. There must have been 300 people trying to take prashadam in a place that can seat 60. It was complete chaos, but it was blissful. It was blissful chaos. Anyway, Hare Krishna. All right, let's pause there then. And so next week I have to play it by ear. It's difficult to tell if I'll be able to make it at 6 o'clock, but I have to see how things map out when I'm there, because I'll be traveling to Radhadesh on Sunday. So sure, we shall let you know if it's going to go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
So and it seems like I shall scroll ahead. It seems like we're coming to the end. I mean, the way that it seems like now things are being summarized, isn't it? Here. As I get the impression, so we might be coming to the end of the Brhat Bhagavatamrta, but I shall have a look. All right. Anyway, thank you, devotees, for joining us. I hope this discussion you can make you think of Krishna, you can dream of Krishna, and when you're chanting japa, be absorbed in Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now I can't find a button to turn everyone off. Well, we have to stay all night. Hare Krishna. Okay, I found it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.